Hey, what's up guys? I'm Ryan F9, and Yamaha has let me borrow something very interesting. So this guy right here is an XSR900. In case you didn't know, it does say it underneath here. Right there, they have a cool little retro badge, which is actually the only place that my GoPro will even stick on here, because the rest of it is, you know, hand-brushed aluminum on the tank. GoPro suction cup's not going to stick to it, but it's very retro, and we got some other retro things going on here. We have the tail light, circular. That's fairly retro. We have the seat here. This stuff actually feels like real suede. I don't think it actually is, because that doesn't really make much sense for the rain. But it feels like it. So that's sort of traditional as well. We have the round headlight, and that's going to be traditional too. So yeah, it's kind of a retro looking package, but you can probably tell that we have something serious going on in the engine there. Looks a little bit mean, so let's check it out. Jump on. This is circular too, the dash. It's digital rather than analog though, which is not so retro, so I was kind of surprised about that. But there you go. It's also off-centered to the side there, which I'm not actually that crazy about, but anyway, that's that. Let's get this guy moving, and we'll see what it's made of. I want to go first because I want to go fast. Thank you very much. Oh! Oh, wow. This thing goes. Okay, let's try to get out of this residential neighborhood. This is not the right place for this bike. Wow, that's a good feeling. So this guy, this bike is based off the XSR900 a couple of years ago, and they came out with that same chassis, similar sport rubber, the exact same 847cc inline triple engine. That's the main thing. I mean, this thing has a firecracker underneath it. I kind of knew that going in. I mean, it's an absolutely stunning engine. It produces a ton of torque, a ton of power, all the way up that tachometer. And so, yeah, so it's a very popular engine. It was popular on the XSR900. It feels good here, feels pretty much exactly the same, except for some of the throttle response stuff. I mean, that's the thing, the XSR900 had some problems, right? The throttle response was kamikaze. It was just like on-off, like a light switch. And the suspension was really bouncy. It would bounce me all over the road. But this feels better. I can tell right now that the throttle response is very twitchy. It's very responsive, but it's pretty linear up the tachometer. And then we get into the corners. So I can tell already that the suspension has been damped out a little bit. I mean, the XSR900 used to corner, I don't know, really bouncy. Not very pleasant, but this one, it's a little bit stiffer. Feels a little bit more kind of track ready, which I like as well. It feels like they damped out, just kind of jumping on it there. Feels like they damped out the suspension and rebound and compression. And I like that. It's probably a little bit harsh in the city. I mean, these roads are pretty good. We're in sort of like ritzy, expensive house Boucherville, so the roads are pretty good. But I feel like in the city, this might be a little bit of a stiff ride. The seat is wider though, so it is actually a little bit more comfortable to sit on than the XSR900 was. So maybe that makes up for a little bit of the stiffer suspension. What else? What else is going to be different from the XSR900? Oh, the slipper clutch. Okay, so this here is the slipper. So I'm in third right now. If I bang it down a couple gears and downshift hard, I'm not going to get any rear wheel chatter, right? So the slipper clutch is kind of useful for that. It makes the pull of the clutch lighter as well, about 20% lighter than it was on the XSR900. To be honest, I don't really feel the difference. It was pretty light on the XSR900 to begin with. Oh, this thing just goes so fast. Woo! This is a fun bike to ride. It was pretty light pull on the XSR900 to begin with, and so I don't really notice the difference that much with getting 20% lighter here. So that's that. The other thing is modes. So are we getting out? Yeah, okay, cool. I think we're getting out of the residential neighborhood, and that's a good thing because I'm going to get myself into trouble in here. So we have some modes, right? So traction control 1, 2, and off. I was able to get it into 2 earlier while riding, but it doesn't seem to like to do it. It's not doing it for me now. And you definitely can't turn it off while riding, which is kind of annoying. TC1 I like. I've been riding around on this so far. TC2 is full nanny. That's kind of junky. Nobody wants that. and turning it off is fun, but a little bit, you know, a little bit scary. So I've been riding around TC1. It lets you get the front wheel up and lets you have a bit of fun, but nothing too bad. Let's see if I can slip into this gap. This bike's going to be good for hitting the gap. Woo! Oh, I'm never going to get tired of that. And it's responsive right now, so I have it in A mode right now. There's a couple of driving modes, A, B, and standard. So in A mode right now, that's the full Monty. I have full control over all of the power all the time, and it's razor sharp. If we go into B mode, well, let's do standard first, actually. Standard, come on, standard. There you are. Standard is nice. To be honest, A is a little bit too sharp for me when I'm just kind of cruising around town, because the response is just telepathic. You go over a bump or something like that, and you find yourself, you know, pulling the front wheel up off the ground because you've just slipped on the throttle a little bit. So A is a little bit too sharp. In the same way, I find the bars are a little bit wide, and if you sort of, again, you know, get a bump, or like, you know, if you're a little bit too tight or whatever, it makes the steering really twitchy. Although it is a very flickable bike. This thing's about I think it was like 195 kilos or something. It's very light, very flickable. And the Bridgestone tires I got on here are pretty quick to turn in, so it is flickable in that sense. I got off topic. I was talking about D modes, and now I'm talking about how it turns. But yeah, so standard's good. I like standard driving mode for in the city. It lets me feel the engine, but sort of, woo! Yes! But sort of takes the edge off it. If I go into B driving mode, I could do without this. B just makes it drive badly. I mean, look at this. I'm going to give it throttle, and finally the power comes on about a half second later. It just makes the bike drive badly. It feels like something from the 90s in B mode in the worst possible way. It's not really what I want. Not a huge fan of B mode, but A and standard, very pleased with that. What else can I say from a sort of first impression standpoint? The riding position is good. So it's a bit confusing, actually. I mean, it's an upright riding position. It's very comfortable. I'm 6'3". This is a 32.7-inch seat. Loads of space in here. It feels fine. The other thing I will say is that with the tank, it has these nice sort of cutouts that you can see here where your knees are supposed to slot in. And if I sit as I normally would on the tank, my knees go about, I don't know, 1.5 inches too long. So it doesn't actually really fit me in that sense, but it is comfortable. So I wouldn't say this bike doesn't fit. It just doesn't really fit me the way they designed it to. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! That's lovely. The other thing I'll say about the driving position is it's just very upright. It's an upright driving position. It's very much like a UJM, and it's a little strange. You know, this bike is sport performance. It feels like it really wants to go, but the riding position is straight up. I'm taking all this wind frontally. I mean, I can't even see my tachometer if I'm just looking straight forward because it's so far down and my head's so far up. So the riding position just, it's not uncomfortable, it's not bad, it just doesn't quite make sense. You know, it's like having a lazy boy chair in an F1 car. It's like, I feel like it should be a little bit more sporty on this bike than it is. You know, I feel like I shouldn't be this upright if I'm sitting on this much power. But it's comfortable, it's fine. We'll talk more about that probably in the full review. Let's go over top here. The other thing I'll say, and you're probably getting like a crap ton of wind noise right now because it is a wide open motorcycle. The other thing I'll say is the horn is in a stupid place. It's like way out here, and I have to really reach to hit it, and I don't like that. So I noticed that right off the bat too. Let's pull over here. This is probably good. I noticed that my camera had flopped down from that last sort of bout of acceleration. I'm gonna put this thing back in A mode because A is exactly where I like it to be. I'll tuck in here. Bike's gonna fall over if I leave it there. This is a little better. So anyway, those are kind of my rough first impressions on the bike. And we're filming with it for the next couple days. We'll have a full fancy review out after that, but I can already tell that this is gonna be a fun week.